when we talk about MIPS, which is the merit-based incentive payment system put forward by CMS, there's an evolution that is really mapped out. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. That really indicates how serious CMS is about creating publicly reported comparative provider data. This is one of the underpinnings of being able to include quality in our network performance criteria. By having publicly available peer-to-peer provider performance data, we can begin the process of working with regulators to establish qualitative access standards. So in addition to just knowing what the accessibility is of providers for primary care or specialists in terms of time and distance, it's what is the access in terms of time and distance and other criteria to the highest performing providers. And is that access equitable across a service area? Very complex conversations that we're beginning to have on the state level as well as the federal level. And MIPS is one of the performance criteria that is central to that discussion. Also included in that proposed rule, there's updates on cost measures and improvement activities that providers are starting to look at. What are the revisions that are being proposed around interoperability? And again, that migration from traditional MIPS, sunsetting in 2027, and then growing into, as you can see a little further down, MIPS Value Pathways. Essentially what that means is that today, traditional MIPS is a set of measures that are really not collected into groups. Starting in 2023 and then progressing more deeply through 2027 and then a clean cutover in 2028, CMS is starting to take those different measures, put them in an organized fashion into groups that make sense around different specialties, and creating overall criteria based on combined measure sets. So starting in 2023, providers can opt into those collection of measures and find the most closely aligned set of MIPS-based value pathways that align with their specialty area. So it's an indication to us that CMS is looking long-term around creating this publicly available quality performance data set that allows comparisons among providers. And if you read the rule, some of the language that really comes to the forefront is the reason CMS is so interested in this in the proposed rule is because they're looking to better inform consumers about the quality of providers that are available to them through various networks as they're making decisions around their health. So Quest Analytics has weighed in and offered our comments on this proposed rule 1751-P. And what we've said is that making available provider performance information, MIPS is an example of that, is very useful as we begin to advance the concept of quality access standards. And this should be done in addition to proprietary quality programs that are in place today across multiple payers. The proprietary programs are fantastic, but they do not allow an apples-to-apples comparison across payers to achieve the CMS goal of consumers having access to comparative data as they make selections. So a lot happening in that rule. Wanted to tell you a little bit about it and leave you with this thought on the proposed rule. As you'll see on the next slide, the timeline is something to keep in mind as you're working with providers. This is what they're looking at in terms of traditional MIPS. Again, that's the merit-based incentive payment program, where today and continuing through 2027, providers can look at distinct individual measures, performing in those measures and receiving enhanced revenue for their success in those measures. But beginning in 2023 and moving through 2028 and beyond, they'll have the opportunity to participate in collections of those measures around specific specialty programs. And all of that data will be nationally publicly available. So we're watching that very closely, and there will be more to come. But we wanted you to see the timeline, and really the key takeaway here is a long-term commitment from CMS around comparative provider performance data on a national basis in the Medicare space.